Practice these 2 techniques to play perfect flams every time. In this video, I'm going to show you the trick to playing perfect flams, but we're going to start with doing a flam test. See if this applies to you. First test, see if your flams sound consistent every time. Do they sound the same or do they change like this? Test 2. Do your flams sound different or the same when they change from hand to hand? Do they sound the same like that, or does one sound slightly different like this? Do you ever make the dreaded popped flams? First of all, let's talk about the components of a flam stroke. So with a flam stroke, you have your large primary stroke that has a grace note with it, like this. The grace note needs to be close to the head so that it sounds like a grace note, which is a lighter note. The volume of the flam is determined by the large stroke. For instance, if a flam says, if it's notated as forte or fortissimo, you have a large stroke. Your primary stroke is large. If the flam says it's mezzo or piano, then the primary stroke is lower. It can sound tight or close together like a blip. It can be more open and separated, kind of like a kadunk. It's really a matter of personal preference and style. Some might say that an orchestral snare is tighter, whereas rudimental style flams might be farther apart. But that really comes down to your own preference and using your ears to see what fits the style that's being played. So this is what you don't want. As I demonstrated in the flam test, you don't want to have an inconsistency in the space between the grace note and the primary stroke, or a pop. So let's dig into this technique. This is something you always want to keep in mind. It's very important. Write this down. In order to have consistency in sound, you need to have consistency in movement or motion. So think about that. If what you're doing between the notes is different every time, there's a danger of what's landing is not always going to be exactly in the same spot or sound the same. So the 2 skills to master for playing great flams are, first of all, mastering the control stroke, and second, stick height independence. I made a video on the control stroke and it's linked in the description below. I'm going to give you a quick description of it and demonstration, but do check out that video for a deeper dive into the concept and techniques. So the control stroke is essentially this. You are using your wrist to control the rebound to prevent the stick from bouncing back up. Notice I'm not squeezing or choking the stick. I'm simply leaving my wrist down. The stick has an opportunity to move a little bit in my hand even. By doing this, I'm going to be keeping the correct position for the grace note in the flam as it stays in the lower position for the lower volume. That will stay more consistent. So this is true for flams in the same hand and when I'm alternating like this. So when my students are working on playing alternating flams for the first time, I have them imagine themselves bouncing a basketball from hand to hand. And notice when you do this, you will naturally do this, the hand that's releasing the ball stays down. You pass on the bounce to the other hand. So this is very much like the way this is very much like the way the control stroke happens with alternating flams. So pretend you're bouncing that ball hand to hand. Now do the same thing with sticks. Keep thinking of it like a ball. See how the hands are moving? You're actually using a control stroke by doing that. The second skill I mentioned is stick height independence. So now when I say stick height independence, this is what I mean. I mean using different stick heights in movement from each hand. What you want to do is you want to unlock your hands and avoid falling into the trap of this, of both hands always moving together, both hands moving together to do a prep for a full stroke. So you may start off in a good flam position, but when you're getting ready to do that stroke, you go like this. Suddenly what happens is you negate the grace note. It's no longer a grace note because now you're in a loud position. You're going to have a different space between the notes because instead of having this much space, you are closer together like that. So you want to have independence of motion. You want to unlock your hands from doing this. Don't get me wrong, there may be times when you want to play both notes the same volume, particularly on the drum set. When I'm playing on the drum set and I'm doing flams, they're often the same volume, same height, but that's a little bit different. I want them to sound the same volume, often on different drums. It's possible to play like that and still have a grace note, but it's a lot more difficult, and it's not really the way that they're taught traditionally. So remember this, the more you're able to control your stick height and control the rebound, then the more accurate and consistent your flams and other nuances of the other rudiments will be, such as roughs and your drags. So ways to practice and develop this. Play rebounds all in one hand, all in the other hand. Then contrast that with playing controlled strokes all in one hand and all in the other hand. Practice changing dynamics suddenly from loud to soft. Try doing, say, 4 in a row of loud followed by 4 of soft. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Notice what happens on the 4th stroke. That's where I do the control stroke in order to play suddenly soft. 1, 2, 3, control, lift, control. You see that? Try doing it faster, only 2 of each. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then alternating. Sorry. So practice these control strokes with your flams. Pay close attention to the sound. Ask yourself, are they all sounding the same? Try it in one hand. If you hear differences, watch your movement. See if you're raising. See if you don't have stick height independence. See if your hands are locked together. Or if your grace note is rebounding back up, and so you're not staying in that good position. Practice alternating flams. Visualize bouncing that basketball. Then do the flams. And finally, practice playing snare drum solos from books. The Alfred's Drum Method book is a good start for beginners up to advanced beginners. The Charlie Wilcoxon Modern Swing Solos, those are just two books off the top of my head, but really just about any snare drum method book should have flam exercises or snare drum solos that incorporate flams. Check out my videos linked below in the description, videos on developing the rebound stroke and control strokes. And finally, thanks for watching and supporting the channel.